Hi, everybody. This is Eugene Popa, your host for the Hypnosis Master Summit. And I'm very, very excited because right now we have with us my good friend, one of the hypnotists I love and admire so much. Of course, I'm talking about the incredible Richard Barker, the incredible hypnotist, who is one of the most renowned, probably one of the best stage hypnotists in the world today. He's a comedy stage hypnotist, a media source, a television personality, an author, and a keynote speaker. He spent over 20 years in the entertainment industry and has been, teaching and producing shows in over 38 countries around the world. He could be seen on the Today Show, CBS, NBC, Fox News, ABC, and all of the other acronyms on the late night show with James Corden, ET Entertainment Tonight, and so many other media outlets. He is, like I said, probably one of the most known stage hypnotists in the world today. And he has so much information to share with you right now. So what are the secrets?
I think there's a lot of secrets to the stage and to put it on a good performance. But if you're learning, if you first get started and you're learning, stage hypnosis in particular, it's to source out and learn from as many people as you can. Don't just learn from one trainer, learn from as many as you can, because they all bring different sort of personalities and styles to the stage. And I would say, never stop learning, become a lifelong learner of the stage. Obviously, since COVID, our shows have all changed. They were the same for years. We have now altered our shows we've altered our shows to almost help the confidence of the audience. That's what we've done. We've changed the show in light of COVID to make sure the show is a little bit more appealing to audience members to volunteer in a safe environment. So one of the secrets would be always learn from as many people as you can, and that's from a learning point of view. Number two is you want to be learning from people that are doing something today that you would like to do tomorrow. And it might sound obvious on the face of it, but people don't do that. If you want to work cruise ships and be on the big cruise ship stages, learn from people working cruise ships. There are some massive cruise ships all around the world. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but actually they're building cruise ships like crazy, even through the pandemic. I mean, the Italian shipyards are full of new cruise ships, and they anticipate, Royal Caribbean, Carnival Cruise Lines, Virgin Cruise, and all the new ones. They're building more ships now than they ever have done so before. So the opportunities are obviously bigger. I believe we're getting more sort of media and public attention about hypnosis. That can be positive or negative, depends on how you spin it. So we have more opportunity to work stages. But listen, if you just want to learn some of the stage hypnosis skills for your hypnotherapy practice, because they are excellent skills as a hypnotherapist, then learn from a hypnotherapist that has the stage skills. There's no point in learning from a cruise ship hypnotist if you're never going to step foot on a cruise ship. So learn from someone that's doing what you want to do tomorrow. Fairs and festivals, you can make a full-time career of that. Colleges, high schools, universities, that can be a full-time occupation as well. So secret would be learn from everyone, and then really find the people that are doing today what you want to do tomorrow. And then what I did, honestly, back in the day is I read every single book I could find about stage hypnosis. They all sort of had a difference of opinion with each other. They all sort of like conflicted. That's okay, though. You just make a bunch of notes as a student, and you work out your own path and your own sort of answers, right? But everybody has a different opinion, but you learn from all the books. And there's lots of stage hypnosis books that have been written over the last 100 years. Then what you want to do is you definitely want to go on the good old YouTube and look at and watch as many shows as you can. I remember back in the day, we used to have a DVD club, and we would in the mail, we would swap DVDs of other people's shows to each other. And I've got some old shows from like Anthony Cools and, people that weren't even in Vegas then, like an old show from Canada or an old show from the UK, and just start to watch how stage hypnotists are approaching stage hypnosis. So from a training point of view, I think that secret is huge, because sometimes people go on one weekend course or class with one trainer, and they think they can just walk on any stage in the world, and of course they all of a sudden get a rude awakening. The other secret would be you want to be able to shadow someone, mentor someone, be an apprentice, you know, whatever you want to call that. Because I know that people that have come on stage with me and people that have followed me around on tour, they honestly, Eugene, they are shocked by what goes on behind the scenes. And, you know, I argue there's more work that goes on behind the scenes than actually on stage. Getting on stage is the easy part because you finally got there.
But I mean,
that,
you know, like most people, when they think of, especially with stage hypnosis, like the scariest thing about it for most people, of course, would be, oh my God, I'm going to be on stage in front of so many people. What if I fail? I'm going to make a laugh of myself, and the people are going to boo me off the stage, and they're going to want their money back, and nobody's going to hire me. So,
and that's valid. That's valid. So here's another secret. You know, the confidence on the stage, your confidence on the stage will match the audience's confidence in you. So if you have a lack of confidence, the audience won't trust you. They will also not trust you. So how do you act as if, or fake it if you make it, or how do you go out there with all the confidence in the world, like you've done 100 shows before, and when you go out there, it's just a fait accompli. You are literally going to go out there like a rock star. How do you do that? As hypnotists, we already know it's all in our mind, right? It's in our subconscious mind. The audience does not know how many shows we've done. They don't know if we're going to suck or not. I mean, you don't go to see a concert pianist, right, at the beautiful big you know, opera house that you have in Bucharest, and you have this fantastic building in Romania, and you don't go there wondering if the concert pianist is going to suck, right? You don't go there wondering, I wonder if the orchestra is going to really be off key. you just know that they're going to be what you expect them to be. They're going to be awesome. It's like when you go and see 007 James Bond, doesn't matter which James Bond that they kind of put in, you almost know what you're going to get. You're going to get a storyline, you're going to get action, you're going to get, so you almost know what you're going to get. So with stage hypnosis, when you're walking out on stage for the very first time, one of the big secrets is have a professional stage hypnotist, your mentor or someone else, backstage to bail you out, to rescue you. If all of a sudden you start putting your own sword inside your stomach and you're like, you know, so if all of a sudden, and it happens, I've seen people, not my training, thankfully, but I've seen people start to do a stage hypnosis show at a fairground and then literally throw their microphone on the door and just like literally walk through the exit door.
What?
And just walk off because they couldn't do it. Because honestly, I will tell you, I'm not sure if you've done a show before, but it's harder than it looks. You know, I know some people might say, oh, it's easy.
No, there's so many moving parts. I can only imagine the music, the lights, the stage, the position, the chairs, the microphone, the lapel, Jesus.
It's a lot going on. And, you know, if you've got 20 people, let's say you're successful in your pre-talk and you do get 20 volunteers, because the success of the show is how good your pre-talk is. A lot of hypnotists want to like quickly speed through the initial introduction and pre-talk, and then they wonder why they got no volunteers and the induction sucks. Well, it's because the introduction wasn't good. But honestly, when you go out on stage, if you're lucky enough to get 20 volunteers, they're not all going to be compliant. They're not all going to get hypnotized. They're not all going to follow instructions. And when you ask someone to leave the stage, they're not always going to leave. So you've got these 20 people that potentially you have these big problems with, but you can't show the audience you're having a problem on stage. So there's a lot of consideration. So one of the secrets is for your first show, I would say just for your first show, maybe your first two, have somebody backstage. I remember I was training somebody in the Caribbean actually, and I was just at the side of the stage in case he crumbled. And he didn't crumble, he killed it. Because I'm going on, you know, at the side of the stage. And sometimes you just need that little bit of moral support.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because when you're in a band, if you're a brand new guitarist or a bassist or someone else, they will always have another guitarist just to bail you out, you know, just to.
Oh, really?
So if you suck, you can get through the gig because the other band members can sort of help you out. But if you're a stage hypnotist, it's just you.
Yeah.
If you fail and you tank, who else is going to bear with you? There's no other team members other than the volunteers and the audience. So it is all on you. So first of all, don't run before you can walk. Make sure you have solid training. Make sure, just like a magician would and a comedian, you have to rehearse. You have to rehearse. Some people don't get this. They think, well, how am I going to practice when I don't have a stage?
Yeah, exactly. So how do you rehearse if you are, let's say somebody comes and takes a class, your course, right?
Yeah.
So they take your course online, offline, it doesn't matter. They come to you because they want to learn how to do stage hypnosis.
Yeah.
So they learned it, but then they have to go back to their country.
Yeah.
And now they're back home in their, neck of the woods, in their hometown with just 1,000 people living in that place. How are they going to practice?
And that's the difficulty that a lot of people have. How are they going to practice? So they've got good training. So basically, when they go to the training, I push them to book a show, because action takers get rewarded. As you know, success loves speed. And if you don't book a show, you might never book a show. So while you're at the training, book a show. You call people up, you book a show, you get a show on the books. Then you go to your own country, like you just described, in your own neck of the woods. And if you're in a very small place or a village or just a little town, you're going to want to tap into the nearest city that you can, that's a reasonable sized city or town. And we have a beautiful thing now called Facebook and also, social media. And back in the day,
I know it.
We used to use like classified ads and Craigslist. But what you do is you basically do a casting call, and as if you're shooting a movie or a television commercial, you do a casting call and you say, hey, I'm looking for 20 people to come to this place on Saturday at 1 o'clock. I'm going to need you for minimum 2 hours. I'm going to pay you $10 an hour or 20 lei, whatever. I'm going to pay you 100 euros or whatever it might be. And I am, and you have to be careful with what you say. You say, I am rehearsing new routines for my stage hypnosis show. You may or may not get hypnotized. It does not matter, but I'm looking for willing volunteers that want to experience hypnosis. So you're not saying you will get hypnotized. You're not saying you will fake it. You're not saying you will do everything I tell you to. You're looking for people that want to experience an opportunity of getting hypnotized. And you tell them that you don't know what the results are going to be because these are new routines. And then when you get these 20 people, you can probably get rid of a few within your first hour and then just have a solid set of people. And you're going to pay them an hourly rate, however long you want to keep them. And you are going to rehearse your stage hypnosis show basically from start to finish. Or you could just keep repeating your induction, and they don't have any loyalty to you because they're getting paid. So the results are going to be real. And you're going to have a video camera there with a bit of luck, and you're going to have it recorded. And hopefully, if you're smart enough, you've rented somewhere that has a theater or a stage, like a nice university stage or a high school that has a nice stage. And you said, hey, I need to use your stage for a couple of hours on Saturday morning or Sunday afternoon when nobody else is using it. How much do you want? A lot of the time they'll say you can have it for free, especially if you're a member of the community. And then you bring in a bunch of lighting. You just get some uplighting, or get a company to bring some uplighting. You get a sound system. I recommend you buy one of those Bose, the Bose L1s. They're portable. They're 500. They're enough for 500 people. They're super powerful. I think they're 1,500 watts now for a little portable stick you can throw in your car. And you just invest in one of those or rent one. And now you have these people, and now you pretty much have a show. And honestly, that is the secret way to practice. And you video it because you want to see yourself back. So if you find yourself, a lot of new hypnotists are going to be, okay, well, you'll really discover your mannerisms. You'll discover that you keep saying the same things. And it really is, it's a brutal assessment of yourself.
Oh my God. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have people who actually learn the entire show word for word by heart. So when they go on stage, they're a bit like, like automatons who are just,
Yeah.
blurbing out the words. So,
And so you want to learn improv. Another secret would be to learn some improv and learn some stand-up comedy. If you're taking this career seriously, because you're right, exactly what you just said, is that you go in there with a framework of what to say. You have to have a framework, and you have to have a start, a middle, and an end. But what all happens in the middle, you could have a really good subject that all of a sudden does some crazy stuff outside of the show that you have to run with. It's so good, you want to run with it. So yeah, you're right. You've got to be able to, like, while you're on the stage, and this is another thing that makes this tough, you're standing on the stage, and while a routine's going on, you've already killed the next routine. You're not going to do it. You've decided right there that you cannot go and do the next thing because this is happening, or you need to quickly insert this because you have a good volunteer that would match a certain routine. Like for example, if I have a woman, typically it's a woman, because I think they just express this routine better. If I have a woman that I know is really susceptible and a really good volunteer, I'll use her to have the tongue fall out of the mouth every time she talks. It's just a very good visual. Like, I'll use a guy typically for some other routines, like an FBI agent or a secret undercover. That's more relevant for a guy. But for a woman, I like to do the tongue fall out of, or can't remember your name, just because they're so organized normally, especially if they're a mother, and they're so organized with everything. And all of a sudden their own name's gone. They came to the theater, their own name's missing. They can't figure it out. I love it when if their son or their daughter or husband is in the audience, or boyfriend, I get them to shout their name out and they still can't get it. It's like, so certain people for certain roles, and you might have to change your show as it's in progress. So flexibility, yeah.
Are there some, like, what are your top 3 most successful sketches from a show?
Good. Yeah, that's, so you have to go simple to complex. So when you're starting a show, you can't give them such a suggestion that it's so complicated that they can't understand it, right? So there's one thing. Second of all, especially in America, a lot of people are multicultural. They're from all other countries. They come to America. Sometimes this is not their first country. They weren't born here. They're immigrants. So sometimes what I like to do is make sure it's a suggestion that no matter where you're from in the world, you can sort of understand the concept of the routine. So a really successful one is playing a musical instrument at the beginning. Everybody knows how to do that, right? So I say, you're going to play a musical instrument of your choice. It could be anything. It's under your chair, and when you pick it up, it could be a guitar, it could be drums, it could be a flute, it could be a trumpet, it could be any instrument. Now, most people will, under their chair, you'll be surprised what they pick up. Some immediately start playing the piano, some are like on the violin, some people are immediately rock stars. I mean, so I like that because it's very visual, and normally it's the first routine where the audience are like, wow, this stuff is crazy, so that's the first. And then another successful, so musical routines are good. And the reason why musical routines are good is because music creates emotion. So when you've got music playing, it creates emotion. People react to music. You tap your foot, or you nod your head, so that's another reason why musical routines are good. And then right at the end, because of America's Got Talent, everybody has a Got Talent. Romania's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent. And at the end, I like to do the international Got Talent. So it's not America, it's not Romania, it's not Germany, it's the international Got Talent. We're looking for the world's greatest rap stars. And that's a good one to end the show, because you tell them that you can rap, but you can't remember your own language. And you certainly can't rap in English or Spanish. So that only leaves them to rap in almost made up language, unless they have a third or fourth language that they can rap. Typically people can't. Now they're just going, and I always say, rapping in gibberish, something completely made up, and you're a world famous rapper. And the way that ends is good because most of the audience has grown up with the Got Talent shows, and it's a good one to leave on. So that would be my sort of, and then in the middle, of course, you can get into individuals, you can get into groups. So you've had this framework loosely mapped out, and then you can roll it out as the show progresses. You know, one of the secrets is, and this is a big secret actually, that most entertainers need to understand, that if a routine is crashing and dying and it's just for whatever reason not working, you have to like extinguish it in such a way that the audience don't know that actually it's not working. I'll give you an example. Sometimes,
yes, I was going to ask for one.
yeah, so sometimes you'll do a thing where the number 3 is missing.
Yeah.
And when they count from 1 up to 10, 3's disappeared. And sometimes they'll say 3, and even though you've told them it's disappeared. So I'll have them take a deep breath in. I'll do a standing rapid induction, sleep, and I'll try again. You know, I will have another go. You'll realize the number 3 is missing. Eyes open, wide awake. They count instead of 1, 2, 4. They go 1, 2, 3. And that's right. You're doing a great job, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a round of applause. Make them take a seat, and then just move right on. It just didn't work. But you just you don't tell the audience it didn't work. You just move on.
So, you know, this is so ballsy, I have to say, for lack of better word. I'm asking you not to say number 3. You say number 3. You says perfect. Go back.
Yay! Congratulations. Round of applause.
Don't say 3 or you're out.
Yeah. Or sometimes you ask a question immediately. So let's say they do say 3, or they're not supposed to, or you can't remember your first name. What's your first name? And they do say their first name, John. Congratulations, give John a round of applause. And as they're clapping, hey, John, where are you from? Indiana. That's great. Anybody from Indiana? You know, you make them take a seat, because it doesn't matter. The show just moves on. Nobody's going to say to you after the show, why did he remember his name? Yeah. No one's going to say that after the show, because they've forgotten that it didn't work. So, you know, and the other thing I would say is, and a lot of new hypnotists, stage hypnotists say this, that they get worried about something not happening, you know, not going right during the show. Maybe it's the lighting, the audio, maybe there's something going on. And you know, and same with magicians, as long as you don't identify the mistake on stage or the error, nobody will ever know. So you could make the biggest mistake in the world on stage, and it might appear to be obvious to the audience. In other words, your microphone's not working properly, or for some reason, something's happening on the side of the stage that, you know, you have no control over. What I do is I just have real thick skin and just glide all the way through it as if I never even saw it. And sometimes they'll be like, what was up with your microphone cutting in and out? And I'm like, what? Well, I don't know. You might want to speak to the you might want to speak to the sound. It's just because you can't identify, you know, it's show business. And when they say the show must go on, unless it's a life and death. I've had people collapse on stage. I've had people like not wake up and things like that and just pass out and things. I've had some real, severe actually ab reactions. And honestly, you have to make that decision. What would you do? The show must go on. Unless it's literally a dangerous situation, you continue with the show.
Wow.
I've had demonstrators demonstrating, you know, I've had people holding up signs, you know, trying to cause chaos, like, you know, you're doing the work of the devil. And I've had protesters. I mean, I've had everything. I had someone on stage with a knife. You know, I've had, you name it, I've had it. Almost everything. And what do? You make a very quick assessment. 9 times out of 10, the vast majority of the audience don't care. The show must go on. Wow,
that is very important. And like I took a training, you know, besides your training when you came to Romania to teach about it, and I loved it, and everybody loved it here. I took a training a few years ago with Jerry Valley and Tommy
yeah. Rest in peace, poor Jerry.
Yeah, rest in peace indeed. And that was like 7 years ago or something like that. And I spoke to him. It was a 5 days training, and I was like, yeah, well, it's like, yeah, I've been in this class, but I don't think I'm going to do stage shows.
Yeah.
So in the end of the training, though, I went to him and I said, well, what happens if I go on stage and I do a show and it's not going to work and I'm going to make a fool of myself? And he actually had one sentence, which to me was worth the entire training.
Nice.
And he said this, how do you say it? Stage show is all about entertainment, not convincing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, holy macaroni. I was like, you're not going on stage to convince anyone about hypnosis. You're going there to do a show. So it's the show, it's the important part, not the hypnosis.
Yes.
Stage hypnosis is not about hypnosis, it's about entertainment. It's like, all right, now I get it.
And also, I will add one thing further to that. I use this line quite regularly, with booking agents and people like that. I'm not here to convince anyone, because I've already convinced myself.
Yeah, nice.
So when you think about it, I'm not here, like Jerry said, I'm not here to convince an audience. I've already convinced myself. This is show business. Now, sometimes when you get off stage, people will say, all of a sudden you have these like assessors in the audience. All of a sudden, apparently they're trained assessors and they're trained to assess stage hypnosis shows, because that's the way they sort of come across. It appears that this person has watched your show live in the audience, and after the show, they waited patiently to tell you the third person on the right was not hypnotized.
Wow.
And they're very keen to tell you that, the fourth person on the end didn't look like they were in hypnosis. They just want to tell you that as assessors. And I have a line that I use from Marshall Silver, and I just say, well, when you're right, you're right. Because you can't argue with them. You can't argue with them. And you can't get into a debate. And your show has finished. You're selling merchandise. So you're not, you don't want to, and this is another secret. You don't want to, after the show, you want to be shaking hands, taking photographs. Like I always give a suggestion at the end of my show, whether they want it or not. At the end of the show, you'll probably, you'll want to, and you have to, it's a fine line between arrogance and sort of suggestion, but you say, after the show, when you want to get my autograph, I will be over here next to the sales table. On the sales table, you're going to see all kinds of wonderful items on that table that's going to help you for better sleep, weight loss. But I'm suggesting to them they need to come and get my autograph, and they need to come and take a photograph with me. So when you take my photograph and choose to have my autograph on one of the posters or the flyers after the show, you'll also notice I'm selling products, and you'll want to come to the back, so I always like to do that. But there's always somebody that you're selling something. You can make $2,000-3,000 after a show just selling merchandise. That could be more than what you actually went there for in the first place. Yeah, especially on cruise ships. I mean, you make a lot of money selling merchandise, and somebody wants to come to the table just to argue with you. And they just want to say, hey, just to let you know, the person in the middle wasn't hypnotized. So a lot of new hypnotists get into this argument of, no, they bypassed the critical faculties. We went into their subconscious. No, you just have to say, when you're right, you're right. Thanks. Yeah.
I love this. It's like dead in the tracks. They cannot say anything. It's like, it's like it's a mute point at that point, right? It's like done.
Yeah, it's done. It's finished. Or you say, and thank you for enjoying the show. Do you want to pick up one of these after the show? So, one of the things as a stage hypnotist, one of the best advices I can give anybody, well, certainly I know people are watching this that are hypnotherapists, right? That are therapists and consulting hypnotists, whatever the correct term is now. I know it keeps changing. It's not hypnotherapist anymore. It's what is
whatever it is now? Yeah.
What do you call? What is it?
I said whatever it is. What I notice is that people who've been in this business for longer, they like changing names. People who are just starting out, they love calling themselves hypnotists or hypnotherapists.
Yeah. So to me, I just call myself a hypnotist, and I'm a practicing hypnotist. By practice, it doesn't mean I have a clinical practice. It just means each day in every way I'm practicing hypnosis each day in every way, I'm getting better at it. And I help people with weight loss, stop smoking, removing fears and phobias, helping them feel better about themselves, removing stress through laughter. That's my comedy show. So I kind of don't say I'm a hypnotherapist, but I do say I help people privately. I just help people privately, one-on-one, online or in person, remove obstacles and belief systems from their mindset to help them improve the future. That's basically what I do. So I know that if you're a hypnotist, hypnotherapist, consulting hypnotist watching this, I always say that you will gain so much new knowledge and new skill set by learning stage hypnosis that it will enhance your skills in the one-on-one, environment, in the hypnotherapist environment. And as you identified, it doesn't mean you have to leave the training and decide you want to do a stage show. Most students that come and see me decide they don't want to do a stage show, but it's improved their ability for public speaking, for sales, as a hypnotist, helping people with life struggles and changes. But I think every hypnotherapist should take stage training because the skill set is really, really positive, really strong, and really helpful. And equally, every stage hypnotist should take hypnosis training, classical hypnotherapy training from somebody like yourself or the NGH or someone that has a solid course of learning how to be a hypnotist, because the two skills go hand in hand. I use my hypnotherapy training and skills, and I also use my stage skills. And so when I'm dealing with a client one-on-one, like I have one right after we've finished speaking, I know that my skill set, I like to entertain them on the beginning of a hypnotherapy session. I give them a compelling and a fascinating and an interesting reason why, when we do the change work, when we do the hypnosis session, they're going to have a natural desire to succeed and win and be better today than they were yesterday. And I use my stage skills. I do magnetic fingers. I do a few things. I do a little bit of mentalism too. So especially with the online sessions, I have them think of numbers, and I have them I just engage their minds so they realize something is possible, instead of just, doing a classic therapy sort of session with them. So interchangeable skills, I believe.
Absolutely. Now, there are people who say that, if you are doing stage hypnosis, you're actually detrimental to the business, I would say, to the profession of hypnotherapy, because actually, people are seeing, stage hypnotists doing all kind of crazy stuff on stage, and that actually undermines public's belief or credibility with hypnosis. So what is your opinion on that?
I've heard that a lot too, and I can agree in some capacity. There are some stage hypnotists out there that are awful. I mean, they're terrible. They're just going out there to literally try and embarrass people, ridicule people. Some stage hypnotists get into it purely based on their own ego and on their own sort of, there are some people out there that really, they just want to have more power over somebody else. And stage hypnosis is the outlet. So there is that, and I can understand the argument. And then on the other side of the coin, if you see a very well produced professional hypnosis show, and it's presented in the right way, and it has a lot of positive affirmations at the beginning, the middle, and the end, and it makes the connection between the stage and clinical possibilities. Because I always tell my audience, I've just demonstrated to you a fascinating subject called hypnosis. And what you've just seen is the power of suggestion and the power of the mind. Could you imagine if I could help you with your limiting beliefs, or removing your obstacles, or removing anything is possible? I said, while you've seen all this fun stuff, and yes, we've just had fun, and I appreciate you laughing during the show, and all the volunteers shared their personalities, right? And they were awesome. But can you see the health benefits of how this would really help you improve sports performance or remove anxiety? So I always give them that connection. And I always get a lot of people afterwards, thank me for that. And I also get a lot of clients after my show. So I think if it's presented correctly, it really can enhance hypnosis as a whole, as a profession. Unfortunately, you can't train everyone, and there are people that will go out there and just destroy hypnosis. And I mean, in fact, there are colleges in America that I know of. Like there is as I stand here or sit here right now talking to you, there is a couple of state fairs that I know, big ones like Alaska. There's some big fairs, state fairs, that have had hypnotists in the past and will never, ever, ever have a hypnotist step foot on their property again because of the damage that was done. And I've spoken to people at some big organizations here that say, we had a hypnotist a couple of years ago. It was one of the worst things we ever did. We'll never have a hypnotist. So it's really horrible to hear that, but it's true. So I can appreciate the argument. And all I can say is there are ambassadors on stage. There are some very good people out on stage that are doing more positive than negative for the profession.
Yeah, this argument, I heard it many times, because actually also for people who are not doing stage hypnosis and from people who are very much into the therapeutic side, so to speak, of the business, and who also said, I don't necessarily agree completely with what is happening with stage hypnosis, but on the other hand, it's been doing a lot of help to promote this profession.
Because how are we going to do it in private? Like if we don't have stage hypnosis, we don't have a platform. We don't have a stage, right? So let's just say stage hypnosis all of a sudden just disappeared.
Yeah.
What would we be able to do to show the public hypnosis? Because I mean, Hollywood, as you know, they just keep bringing out horror movies, and it's all about mind control and misconceptions. So how are we going to demonstrate this is not actually true, other than using stage hypnosis as a large platform? Because even all the TED Talks, even all the TED Talks I've seen with hypnotists that have gone and done TED Talks, most of them demonstrate stage hypnosis. They do, otherwise it wouldn't be entertaining, right? And we have to fall into the stereotype. If you're going to do a TED Talk and you don't demonstrate hypnosis, then you're not a hypnotist in the eyes of the audience. So therefore you have to the minute you bring somebody up and you demonstrate something fun or something like a rapid or instant induction, in my opinion, that's stage hypnosis.
Yeah. So now when you're doing stage hypnosis, do you need to have an assistant there with you, or are you like, can you do it without? Because some people say, well, I'm just trying this out, but I see some others are, they have a whole team assisting them. Can you do that by yourself or not?
It's easier. It's easier to have a stage assistant, because the stage assistant is making sure the stage is perfect, is making sure the environment is good, is usually interacting with the person in charge of the premises, helping the audience, working with the audience while you're backstage. Also, when the volunteers are on stage, helping them get their belongings back or take things off them like gum and, cell phones before the show. It's helpful, but I've learned that you don't have the luxury of always being able to travel with an assistant, especially if the assistant has other things going on and it's not their full-time job. So it's nice, but it's not essential. It's not necessary, but it does make it easier, as long as you've rehearsed together.
So it's like you have to do the whole show together with the assistant. So, like they would know when you're doing your stuff or when you're doing a particular part of the show.
Otherwise, you don't know where to stand. And what tends to happen is with a new assistant, they keep standing in the way. And as you're walking around the stage or the back of the chairs and you see someone that you need to get to, they're normally, blocking you, and it can become a struggle. So, if you rehearse it, it just becomes a lot easier. The whole thing is about practice and rehearsal. So I know it sounds strange because we don't have anything physical like a deck of cards or We don't have, you know, poker chips or dice or, you know, something that a magician would have.
Yeah.
But we still have to practice, and we still have to articulate our words and our pre-talk, and, you know, take things out and add things in. We are really like almost like a storyteller, and almost like a poet. When we're on stage, we're giving them compelling reasons as to why they would want to volunteer for the show. And you do that through storytelling. I think the audience loves it when you come out on stage and you just tell them a little bit about yourself, and you just become a bit more personal without boring them. So it's a quick sort of, you know, you want to just connect with the audience as soon as you can. And then also, if you're on a stage, you need to be able to learn stagecraft, and that involves how you walk, how you talk on stage, how you gain the eye contact of the people in the balcony or the people in the front row, because normally people don't look at the front row because they're right there, and normally you're only looking at rows 4 through 12. You know, so you need to be able to scan, so it looks like everybody, it looks like when you're sitting in the audience, the hypnotist is looking at me. Well, you are, you're scanning the audience and looking at everybody, because that way it's all inclusive. So there's a lot to consider, you know, with the stage training. That's something that an actor or an actress or somebody on Broadway or in a theater show would learn for years. And we need to learn it too. And you learn it in a stage hypnosis class, and you learn stagecraft and how to talk. Because sometimes if you're nervous, you talk fast. Right? And you don't want to do that, because you'll lose the audience.
Because they cannot follow your story. Or even when you're doing suggestions with the people on stage, if you talk too fast, they go like, what did you say?
They don't know. Yeah, they don't know. And, you know, sometimes like on a cruise ship, you only have 45 minutes. The show is fast. And I'm talking from start to finish, from your pre-talk to the induction, to the routines, to walking off the stage. If it's longer than 45 minutes, they're going to fire you. I mean, you've lost your job, because they're going to be doing bingo or something monetized. Your show, sorry to burst your bubble, but your show is just a filler for them to sell things before and after it. That's what cruise ships do. So if you're late, the cruise ship might lose thousands and thousands of dollars. Therefore, you have to speak fast, but you have to make sure they understand you. So with suggestions, you got to give them at least 3 times.
So especially for cruise ships, but like off the cruise ship, it'll still go for 45 minutes or an hour, or you can go for longer.
On a cruise ship, a show is 45 minutes. You do not go any longer than that. Now, if you go shorter than that.
And how much is the introductory part? Like, you know, people get in the room, the show starts, and then you do an introduction, and then it's the show, and then it's the conclusion. So like, how much is each of these chapters?
So normally, if your show is 7:30, let's just say your show's at 7:30, the doors to the house will open at 7 or 6:45. As the doors open at 6:45 or 7, they're going to be selling bingo tickets, and they're going to be selling alcohol, and everybody's coming into the theater, right? So everyone's taking their seats. During that time, there is just background music playing. Okay, then they get the 5-minute warning. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 minutes, the show will start. Please take your seats, turn off your cell phones, you know, things like this. And then what I do, just to speed things up, is I tell the cruise director, you don't have to come out and introduce me if you don't want to. Now, some cruise directors still want to come out and say something, because they have an announcement about tomorrow, or about what's happening at midnight tonight, you know, things like that. Most of them don't come out. And then what I've done is a 2-minute recording. It's a video that they watch that basically gives them most of my pre-talk in 2 minutes. So when they watch the video, all I have to do is come out and now say, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, do I want to be in this show? Do I want to get hypnotized? And then I quickly spell out, here's the benefits. Here's the reasons why you want to be in the show. Here's what I'm looking for. And in a few moments, when I ask for volunteers and you hear the music change, the faster you come up on stage, the more chance you have to be in your own show. 1, 2, and music changes, lights change, up they come. So they're up on stage within 5 minutes. And then very quickly conditioning the volunteers, disorientating them, moving them around, taking their stuff off them, making sure nobody's injured, you know, doing a quick assessment. And then you're straight into the induction. The induction can be faster on a cruise ship because here's another secret. The more lights and the more theatrical and the more sound you have, the shorter the induction, right? And it's because if a theater looks like a theater and a stage looks like a stage, in their mind, they're like, oh my God, I'm going to get hypnotized because look at all the lights. Look at the audience. It's almost like a placebo. I'm going to get hypnotized. But if you're in somebody's living room and you're on the floor, honestly, it doesn't look like a show, and they're not going to get it. So the more it looks like a show, the more they're going to get hypnotized. So the easier it is. If your environment does not look like a hypnosis show, and it just looks like a couple of chairs at the side of a bar or restaurant, it's going to be harder for you, right? Because it's easier to hypnotize somebody in Vegas.
Yeah, right.
Because it's Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So basically you can have them with the induction hypnotized in the first 10, 12 minutes. And now that gives you 25 minutes of solid routines.
Yeah.
And then you have the end bit where you close the show. You should be at about 42 to 43 minutes. I mean, you're timing this precisely. And then literally on the 45th minute, as you take a bow, the cruise director's waiting at the side by the curtains, and he or she is coming out. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, for the hypnotist Richard Barker. And then you take the bow, and then you run to the front because you're going to start selling stuff. So you get ready and you run to the front of the theater, and that gives the cruise director a chance to say, at midnight, we have a seafood buffet, and at midnight, we have Dancing Under the Stars. Tomorrow, we're in the beautiful island of Barbados, or whatever they say. It gives you a chance to run, get to the front, and start passing out your products and start selling stuff. And shaking hands and promoting your seminar if you have one. Stage hypnosis is wonderful for seminars, for learning how to give a seminar.
So of your entire, because you've done, gazillion such shows, like how much can you make at the back of the room?
Oh my gosh.
Just between you and us and everybody who's watching.
I don't know if I should answer that. Let me tell you, and the other stage hypnotists that work cruise ships can testify, as well as some of the large fairgrounds. You can double your income at the back of the room. So if you do a show successfully on a ship, and then you do a seminar the following morning. So I like to do the show and then say, tomorrow morning, if you want to learn what happened on stage, and if you want to get a better night's sleep and learn how to lose weight and remove anxiety, come back tomorrow at 10 a.m. So if you do that seminar, you can make at least $10,000. I mean, if you have the right product to sell, I sell a bunch of different product that all are reasonably priced. That why wouldn't 2,500 passengers at least buy them?
So
fairground,
the price is like what, under 100 or?
It just depends. So I have a USB thumb drive that's $197. Sometimes I'll discount it to $97. It's $100 for all my programs on a on a phone app. So I have my own phone app. That phone app gets downloaded for free initially, and then they upgrade to VIP on the cruise. So I say to everybody, I have an app for hypnosis called Hypnotist Help. You can download the app. It's free, and I've got lots of free, as you know, I've got lead magnets on there and free content. And then if they upgrade, it's $97. Well, of course, normally on a ship, I'll get at least 400 or 500 people pay the $97, to upgrade. And then I can sell membership clubs, my $20 a month weight loss club, and things like that. You just have to have your products. You have to think about what it is you're going to sell and have your products ready to roll.
So you're not actually doing only a show. You actually have like a whole kind of like a package system industry behind the show.
Oh, absolutely. And it's
the show is like the spearhead.
Yeah. So when it's just compelling reason to buy the products at the end. So when I do a fairground show, you'll have like, 1,500 people in the audience at like a nice size fairground. You're doing 3 shows a day, 2 or 3 shows a day every day for, let's say, 10 days or 14 days sometimes. And they all want to purchase the video of the show. And so what I do is I become the Netflix of hypnosis. And basically they all opt in by text messaging a word to a number. So now I've got all their opt-ins. And basically the following day, it gives me a chance to edit the show. The following day they get a link and they download the show for $25. But we can normally we can sell about 1,500 $20 shows a day. Jesus. So if you do the math, every day for 14 days, 10 days.
Yeah. All right, sign me up.
Lots of benefits.
I know. We'll share the profits, okay? Richard, thank you so much for your time. I know time is of importance and of value. Please tell us, where can people get in touch with you? How can they learn more from you, or learn how to do stage hypnosis from you directly?
Text the word sleep if you're in the USA to 727-291-9823. Text the word sleep to 727-291-9823. Anywhere else in the world, if you just want to touch base with me, even inside the United States, incrediblehypnotist.com.
That's it, everybody. You know how to get in touch with Richard. Just go to incrediblehypnotist.com. You'll find all about him there. And with this, we are wrapping. Richard, thank you so much one more time.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, my friend. Take care.